Welcome back to Smitty's Learning Room. Today we continue to have a look at Core 2 and we're looking at the focus question. How does the acquisition of skill affect performance? And we're going to specifically have a look at the dot point objective and subjective performance measures. So last video we had a look at the characteristics of skill performers, and this video we're going to have a look at, well, how do we actually assess those skilled performers? How do we put them on a scale of 1 to 10, or how do we decide who is the most skilled? And so we're going to look at these concepts here of objective and subjective performance measures. So we use these performance measures, both objective and subjective, to decide on the skill level of a performer. Now, some sports are easy to measure, for example, those sports who require time or distance, and these are objective measures. So, for example, a 100-metre race is very objective because the first person to cross the finish line is the winner. Other sports require more specific ways to measure the performance, for example, gymnastics or diving, and this means that they are subjective, so they are subjective to some other information other than just time or distance. So, for example, gymnastics, while there is a timed element to it, there are judges which judge this performance, and therefore it is a subjective performance measure. So objective performance measures are those that can be recorded independently of an observer or judge. So for example, recording of a time or distance. So as we said before, a 100-metre race is determined by the clock. So essentially, we just need someone to start or stop, but there's always going to be that definite winner. The only reason there may be some subjectivity to it is if it's a photo finish, but even then, it's determined by the photo and who has won from the photo. So there are no arguments with objective performance measures because it's very straightforward, and when we talk about objectivity, we talk about the fact that it contributes to reliability of results, and we're going to have a look at the validity and reliability of results in a later video, but it's just important to note now that objective performance measures contribute to reliability of results. So then we have a look at subjective performance measures, and these are the measures that are based on individual judgments and opinions. So for example, scoring in gymnastics, boxing or diving, or something like surfing even. And subjective performances are judged by a scoring system. However, the judge decides the score. So objective, a machine or a measurement tool decides on the score, but with a subjective performance measure, judges or humans just decide on the score. So now we know the difference between subjective and objective performance measures. Do we then bring up the concept of, can a sport be objective and subjective? And the answer to this is yes, because team sports have scores which determine the result of a match, which are obviously objective. So for example, if we're playing AFL, if a team scores 6 goals versus 7 goals, the team with 7 goals is the winner, and that's a very objective case there. But the subjective measurements of the game would be the referee's decisions which contribute to these goals. So when you look at it, there's a very objective side of it, and there's also a subjective element that's going to have play in the final outcome. So in summary, we have a look at objective performance measures versus subjective performance measures, and we know that objective performance measures have a definite outcome, and they're usually for events that are based around time and distance, and they can be seen in team sports. So for example, a goal or a scoring or even timing for that matter. Now subjective is based on an individual's opinion, so a judge's opinion. So these are generally sports which are judged, like gymnastics, boxing, surfing, and they can be used for team sports as well, because essentially a referee or an umpire has to use subjective measures for them to decide whether a penalty should be awarded or not. So in this video earlier, we talked about reliability and validity, and in the next video, make sure you watch that, because that's going to allow you to connect the concepts of objective and subjective measurements with reliability and validity.